Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Winner's Circle, presented to you by GamblersWorld.net. Today, we have a special guest. Victor King has joined the crew. He's part of our Baker's Dozen, our 13 handicappers. Victor, welcome. Welcome to Winner's Circle and to GamblersWorld.net.
Thank you very much, Chip. Very excited to be here at GamblersWorld.net and on the Winner's Circle podcast. Chip, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. I followed you since the 80s. I was a big fan of the Proline TV show on USA Today Network, in which you were on, and Wayne Root and Jim Feist, all my heroes. You know, in fact, I even do a weekly podcast with Jim Feist every week as well. So, again, a big thrill to me. Chip, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you a South Florida guy right now?
No, I'm in Las Vegas right now, and I'd like to welcome everyone to Las Vegas. I usually spend the winters in Florida, but, Vegas has been calling as of late, especially with all the information and particular contests that we've had here. This is where I belong. I don't mind the water and the beach. Those are gorgeous, and the bathing suits, they're not bad either.
Absolutely.
But we're in Las Vegas now, and every day, on this Winner's Circle, we give free winners for some of the top handicappers in the country. And on the weekends, we're trying to work it out so that you can log on to the website and possibly get a free winner there. We promo, of course, our weekend events. Special guest, Victor, I'm so glad to have you here. I've been following your newsletter. You're more or less a totals guy, and more than I am, shall I say. But so let's start with our complimentary winner before we get to the NFL. I have been assigned the Yankees and the Texas Rangers, most likely because I do stem from New York. The Yankees are 20 games over 500 at one time this season. There were 31 games over. Victor, they've won 7 of their last 10. Texas has lost 7 of their last 10, but the number's way too high on this for me to play. I don't look to play these kind of games as handicappers. We don't need to give out 2-1 favorites. The player can use that game on his own if he wants it. So this isn't a game I would play. So I've looked at the total. And yesterday, the Yankees only scored 1 run. And Carlos Rondon, who's the Yankee starter here, got bombed his last time out. The ERA is at 4.37. I expect him to come back strong here. And Texas's starter, Cody Bradford, has an ERA under 4. It's just a matter of seeing that the Yankees are long ball, are not all or nothing. And I don't think this Texas Rangers team, Victor, has what it takes to make that rush in the second half of the season. We're already 2/3 of the way through. So I'm going to play the Yankees and the Rangers under the total. Don't be surprised that big Yankee power doesn't come up big here. But, Victor, I don't know how you've been looking at baseball right now. Yesterday, I was 2-1 in baseball, winning my megabuck play, which is my single strongest play. Now up to 28-10 the last 38. We've really been rocking them. So, log on, follow by links, get a triple play today. And remember, we are giving you our best right here on the website and complimentary winners. Victor, I think it's time for somebody to log on and subscribe to Winner's Circle and to GamblersWorld.net. Victor, we've got a lot of NFL action out there now. Did you have any action last night in the NFL?
Nothing last night. We're going pretty light, although we will have a free play in the NFL. And we'll put that up at the back end of the podcast here for this evening's action. And, of course, we're heading into the first full weekend where everybody's playing in pro football. This is an exciting time if you're a fan or if you're a bettor alike.
Victor, speaking about pro football, there's been plenty of changes this year, and I wonder how it's adjusting your attitude playing totals. Now, the kickoff right now has been rearranged. I don't even quite fully understand that as of yet. And you have to let the opponent know when you're doing an onside kick. No surprises anymore. We might as well let people know if a curveball or fastball are coming in Major League Baseball. But how do you see this change in the kickoffs affecting the totals for the entire game?
Right now, we're a little bit early. We're a little bit premature. We're basically only 2 games into the schedule. Right. We did watch some of last night's games with, of course, the Giants taking on the Lions and the Patriots taking on the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
And the idea behind it, Chip, was supposed to be, let's try and revive one of the most, or what used to be one of the most exciting plays in the game, while also, decreasing the risk of injury with fewer high-speed collisions. So the idea in the owners' meeting back in March was to use some sort of a XFL style setups to open up the possibilities for return men. And unless it doesn't, again, I think we're a little bit premature. It could be very, very exciting. On the flip side, though, Chip, it could be a shit show. Who knows? One factor that could limit what return teams do is allowing the coverage unit to begin its pursuit when the ball hits the ground or when the returner touches the ball, like the XFL. What I didn't like when watching some of the XFL games was there were too many false starts and misjudgments of when the ball was actually possessed. The coverage team, in many, many cases, would try to time its start when the returner picked up the ball, but they often jumped very, very early, disrupting the game flow and increasing the amount of penalties. And again, these new rules, Chip, they're basically incentivizing you to kick the weirdest, crappiest kick you can possibly do. Any ball that can hit the ground is now what they call artificial hang time. And so the rules are incentivizing variations of squib kicks and wild kicks. Again, it could be very exciting, but it could be a shit show too.
And Victor, I'm wondering, is this going to limit the number of total runbacks, which is one of the most exciting plays in all of football, except when somebody ends up clipping on the play? But, a 90-yard run back and a touchdown and a kickoff. I from what I saw, I think there's going to be fewer and fewer of those. I mean, I just don't see how that's going to happen.
I would agree with you. When talking to some of the officials in the offseason, NFL teams were told not to get cute or to try to find any sort of a loophole to exploit. Right. But if this does not work, I think it could be the very end of the kickoff in the NFL.
Doesn't that sort of like end name football? I mean, we're going to change that. They're going to get the foot out of football, I guess. We had heard so much about when field goal kickers had taken over, that it really had become football because of the way the soccer style's accuracy compared to the, straight on Pat Summerall types. The other thing about this preseason is down to 3 games now. And, handicappers for the most part, I mean, we've done very, very well in preseason. Yesterday, I had a best bet with the Giants over Detroit, and they won easily.
Nice.
And what happens with only 3 games? We used to see game 3 as the big game where all the starters and all the quarterbacks and everybody be in. The team would be setting themselves up for opening week, while in week 4, they would, more or less play to people that were looking to cut or let people cut themselves or work on some things. And then, of course, nowadays, they have a full almost 2 weeks before the end of that 3rd week and the opening week. How do you think it's going to affect them this year?
Right, you're absolutely right. Following the 2020 COVID season, one of the wackier, weirder seasons in NFL history, they made some significant rule changes. They increased the regular season schedule from 16 to 17 games. As a result, like you just mentioned, Chip, preseason was reduced from 4 games to 3 games, except for the teams playing in the Hall of Fame game. So, yeah, big change from 4 to 3. And what a lot of people forget about that you very astutely just mentioned, Chip, was the fact that they've added an additional bye to every team in the NFL. Right. No, it's not an in-season bye, but it is the fact that each team now plays with a full week of rest in between the preseason and their first regular season game. So big changes. If you're a database guy like I am, that's a significant change. Right. So if it's up to me, when I'm doing a lot of my research for NFL over-unders in the preseason, even some of the ATS trends, Chip, I'm not going to go any farther back than these last 3 key years because it's been a massive change in the NFL. Right. And I think everything that happened before the 2020 season, you really don't have to count in your database. So I only go back 3 seasons. And what I will tell you, being an over-under guy from these last 3 seasons, is that there have been actually more overs than unders. In the last 3 years now, according to my database, there's been 80 overs, 66 unders, one tie. That's 55% of all games over the total. Even better in the last two preseasons, 60 overs, 40 unders, 60% against the spread. So in this new era of the
Right.
preseason, there's been more high scoring games than there were in the previous years. Now, I know both of Thursday's games last night ended up going under the total, but
Right.
I do think you're going to be seeing more overs than unders in this full opening weekend, Chip.
Yeah, and Victor, when I was younger, I won't go how far back that was. They actually played 6 preseason games during the
Right,
year,
right.
and there were only 12 and 14 regular season games, and you would really get a full battle during preseason. And now it's game day is so important. 17 regular season games. I mean, there was a time when there was only 12, and there was 2 divisions, and then they'd meet in a championship game. Now we have the playoffs and everything else, which is extended to play. It's great for us, Victor, because we get more action. There's more games for us to deal with. And, I like the way it's spread out, even though in preseason we only get 11 different days where we have action. And today's Friday, and off of yesterday's big win, I'm personally passing. Today's August 9th, and it's a pretty big day in baseball and in sports history, Victor, and I'd like to get to it for you if I can.
Go.
1905 on this date, Ty Cobb's mother shot and killed his father, mistaking him for a burglar. And this is in 1905. So Ty Cobb had a little family issues. 1918. This is interesting, Victor, because it pertains to where we are now in sports. Christy Mathewson. I remember him. He was a great pitcher. You probably saw him throw a few times yourself.
New York Giants.
Yes. He was managing the Cincinnati Reds in 1918. And on this date, he suspended Hal Chase for the rest of the year for indifferent play because he had been accepting bribes to fix games. And of course, 1919 was the next year when the World Series was fixed. So this was already a problem in Major League Baseball before the Black Sox scandal came out and Mountain Landis decided to just fire everyone from baseball. And 1925 was the only date and time where Babe Ruth was pinch hit for in his entire career. Bobby Vatch pinch hit for him. You know him, a big star. Flied out for his only at bat. Now in 1964, Victor, in his first start on Mother's Day against the Mets, Jim Bunning pitched the perfect game. I remember being at a swim club and listening to it on the radio. Today, August 9th, he got his next start against the Mets, and he went, believe it or not, 6 2/3, once again being perfect against this 1964 Met team. Jim Bunning, of course, ended up being a senator. I believe it was from Kentucky, and that was monumental. Also, on this date in 1964, and Victor, I don't want you to forget this. This is very important. Bobby Valentine scored the winning run in the New England Regional Tournament, Babe Ruth 13-15 tournament, as Mike Garino hit a base hit in the bottom of the 6th inning, which sent the Stamford, Connecticut Babe Ruth team to the Babe Ruth League World Series, which is headed by El Segundo and a guy by the name of Kenny Brett, George's older brother. And in 1988, I got to say this because this is really incredible. The first night game was played in Chicago after a rainout when they were scheduled against Philadelphia. This game was against the Mets. They beat the Mets 6-4. And finally, one of the most amazing things we've ever seen. I don't know if you watched it, Victor, but the Olympics from London in 2012, they had a name named Usain Bolt, who won the 100-meter and the second 100-meter in record fashion for the second straight Olympics. He was the only guy ever to do that. And when he was, Victor, he ran the last 10 yards backwards. He was backpedaling, watching everyone behind him. He had such a huge race. It was one of the most incredible feats I'd seen in the Olympics. And of course, he went to 4 different Olympics, Usain Bolt. But we have football today. You have anything for this weekend you want to let anyone else know about?
I do. First off, Chip, let me talk about when you're betting totals in the preseason. There is one number out there that you can really use as an outstanding guide, a key number, and that is the number of 37.0. That's 37.0. Let that be your guide when you're considering betting overs in the NFL preseason. I say that because, again, in this last 3-year period, NFL games with an over-under of 37.5 or higher have basically gone 50-50. They've gone 30 and 33 over-under. That's 30 overs, 33 unders. That's any NFL preseason game in which the line was 37.5 or higher. With that said, on the flip side, NFL preseason games in which the line is 37.0 or less points. These games have gone over the total at a very high percentage. 51 and 33, that's 51 overs, 33 unders in the last 3 years, 61% over the total, not bad. However, in the last 2 years, these games have gone a overwhelming 33 and 10. That's
Wow.
33 overs, only 10 unders in the last 2 years when your over underline is 37.0 or less. Let that number be your guide when you are considering. If you're going to be going over the total and the line is over 37, you're probably going to hit at a 50-50 percentage.
Right.
But if you're going to be going over the total and the line is less than 37, chances are you're going to turn a profit again, as those games went over the total 77% of the time in the last 2 years. Let 37.0 be your key number when determining whether you're going to be betting an over or an under. And Chip, if I can throw in a free play that I like in tonight's action,
All right.
I'm going to throw in a play on Philadelphia and Baltimore over the total. This is the Eagles and the Ravens. They usually play each other in every preseason. And here's what I've come up with from our database in regards to this game. In the last 3 years, in the NFL preseason, when a team is favored on the road, and in this particular game, Philadelphia is laying points on the road against Baltimore. Road favorites in the NFL in the last 3 years have gone 34 and 17 over under. That's 67% over the total. In the last 2 years, even better, 25 and 9. That's 25 overs, only 9 unders, 73%. Guess what? This weekend, we've got a handful of games in which the road team is indeed favored. One of those goes tonight, Philadelphia and Baltimore. The line bottomed out at 34.5 with weather concerns from Tropical Storm Betty that has been affecting a lot of the East Coast games and did last night even. As recently as last night, there was some rain involved a little bit in both games. But now with the forecast okay in Baltimore, the line has risen today on game day from 34.5 to a current number of 36.0. That is what I'm seeing. We're still under the line of 37.
Yeah.
The road team is favored. In the last 2 years, when the road team is favored and the line is under 37, there's been 9 overs, 0 unders. I got to play it today. We're going to play the Ravens and the Eagles over the current total of 36.0. If the game does win tonight, consider some of Saturday's games in which the road team is favored. But Chip, let's take a look at the Ravens Eagles to score. The line is about 4 points off, if you ask me. It should be somewhere around 39.5 to 40.0. We'll play those two teams over the total.
And Victor, that's some really great stuff, I'm telling you, and stuff that I was unaware of. But I'm a little concerned here that Philadelphia is favored on the road, and Baltimore's had this unbelievable record during the preseason under Harbaugh. Now, they had that 22-game win streak stop last preseason. I think they lost 2 in a row, and we were actually playing against them. Now they're an underdog at home. Do you think it's just a total reversal where Baltimore now has gone from where they were winning all those games to where now they're not even going to be competitive in these preseason games?
At one point, they were the ultimate play on team in the preseason.
Well,
we mentioned it in our preseason newsletter many times, but as you mentioned, they failed to cover the spread in all 3 games last year, Chip. So, and it does not look like they're going to be playing a lot of their starters. That's the reason the Eagles, the Eagles want to see what they have in offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. So I can see them increasing the pace of playing this game. I understand why they're favored, and this is another reason why we like the game over the total.
Very good. Now, everyone out there, go to your like button, subscribe. We'll be here each and every weekday with complimentary winners, like the games we just got from Mr. King. And, of course, I want you to pay close attention to him because you're getting some really vital information. You can go to the website anytime log on, follow the by links, get our premier plays. These are just complimentary plays. We're trying to hope and give you an idea of what's going out there in sporting action. Right now, for Victor King, Chip Chirimbes saying, thank you for watching. We hope to see you again next week, and good luck this weekend.